I guess, yeah. All right, let's go. All right. So, first of all, welcome Albert again to our Pharaoh. Or now we are Pharaoh. I think the last time you were on, we were Zcoin, and it's a real pleasure to be on. And of course, I think the what we're trying to do here today is to kind of educate people about, well, what is Stakehound, what is ST-Phiro, Stake-Phiro, and how you can use it and stuff like that, right? Yeah, I think perhaps maybe just give a very short description of what Stakehound is and what StakeFIRO is. I think that'll be a good start again.
So absolutely, no, no. Thank you very much, Ruben, to inviting me here. It's a pleasure, and like always, I appreciate talking to you and like spending time. So, um, essentially, over the last few months, we've seen how there has been like this competition, right, between staking and DeFi, right. There has been massive amounts of value that have moved away from staking into DeFi, essentially because a lot of layer one protocols that have staking, feel like being left behind. Like DeFi is not here just for a little bit; it's going to be here to stay, right? Like it's right now it's on Ethereum. Later, it's going to be in other places, but really, if you want to be kind of in crypto, you will have to be participating in DeFi in one way or another. As a matter of fact, that like Bitcoin on itself, it's a sort of DeFi, right?
Mhm.
So the thing here is like there's not enough bridges, we believe, between layer one protocols and DeFi, because every one of these islands are completely isolated, with their own societies and their own economies and so on and so forth. But the reality is that they don't talk to each other very much, right? You only have like centralized exchanges that allow you to kind of bridge the gap, but still, like it is a very imperfect solution, especially if you want to be kind of bridged into DeFi, which doesn't allow you to do that, right? So what we've done is we've essentially created these tokens, which are right now ERC20 tokens that can represent a one-to-one staked token, right? So essentially, you send in, say, for example, 100 FIDO, you get 100 ST FIDO. Those are ERC20 tokens that you can be trading around. You can be going to Uniswap. You can be, like selling them there or trading them, or like providing liquidity to them there, for example. And essentially, it's just a tool so that you can have a representation of kind of, a piece of the economy of the FIRO ecosystem within DeFi, whatever that is, right?
Mhm.
So like, I don't even think it like as a different thing. For me, it's like you're trading on an exchange, you're getting kind of IOUs from the exchange that allow you, like paper tokens that allow you to trade it there, right? Here
Right.
at the other side of the gate, what you have is the DeFi space. All that, like, there's going to be different layer one protocols that we're going to be like bringing the tokens to. There's going to be different solutions, different applications that we're going to be enabling these tokens to participate in, right? And that's it. Just like trying to create these bridges so that Fido can be participating on the DeFi space, all the holders.
Right. So maybe let me just like summarize that. I guess like I think what you're trying to say basically is that, yeah, all the everything in DeFi is almost, I think, would say 90% or plus percent is happening on Ethereum right now because it's a purpose built for smart contracts, and DeFi
Mhm,
obviously works with smart contracts, and it's where all the attention is right now, right?
mhm, yes.
Maybe there's a few smaller chains like BSC or something like that, but it's mainly happening on Ethereum right now. And the thing is that, as you said, unless you are an Ethereum token or an ERC20 token, you cannot participate. So even if I'm Bitcoin, unless I convert myself into like a Ethereum compatible token, I'm totally cut out from all this DeFi ecosystem. So I can't
Mhm,
participate on Uniswap. I can't do all the loan platforms and stuff like that, right? And similarly, Firo, which was the first one on Stakehound, like we're on our own chain. We're like, as you said, a little island on itself. There's no way to plug into the DeFi ecosystem, right?
yes.
So what you're doing is kind of like taking the Pharaoh, locking it up in the custodian, and then after that, issuing a token to represent Pharaoh on Ethereum. And I guess this is actually very similar to this is not this on itself. I guess it's not new because Bitcoin. There's so much wrap Bitcoin, run Bitcoin. They're all
Yes.
different ways to have Bitcoin being represented on Ethereum itself. right?
Yes.
And I guess maybe you want to talk a bit about, well, okay, wrapped Bitcoin and like wrapped Firo, but you guys go one step further, right? Because you actually host the master node and have people to actually continue to earn the staking rewards, which is why you guys are called Stakehound. Maybe you want to run us a bit through, what's the difference between, let's say, wrap Bitcoin and let's say stake Firo, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, like, if you look back, the first wrapped kind of tokens were basically wrapped dollars, right? So you had like Tether, and you had TrueUSD, like all these different parties. That right now there's actually quite a lot, and I'm sure like myself, I'm using at least 3 of them. Depends on the situation. Depends on, like, I don't really care which one, because I know that those are kind of worth $1, right? That was the first one. It took a while for them to demonstrate their value. The same way it took a while for WBTC to demonstrate its value, right? As of right now, WBTC has $2 billion of total value locked out of what, the $400 billion, which is Bitcoin's market cap. We're talking about 0.5% of the Bitcoin kind of locked into the WBTC program, right? If you look into the complexities of this, so every one of those have different rules, right? Like on dollars, the way that they have set it up is that they can go ahead and they can like invest in bonds, for example, right?
Right.
So invest in things that are really really low risk, that's giving them 1-2% whatever yield, and they just use that to be able to function, right? Now, we had to figure out how is the best way that we can have a sustainable business model while enabling these bridges, because it's necessary. If you don't have a business model around it, it's just not going to fly, right? The business model that we discovered is, hey, actually these tokens, without printing money, without money printing, you got that they're actually like producing some yield, right? So if we can just get a slice of that yield, then we can enable a system that until now was not possible, right? So you have WBTC, then you have W stake tokens, right? So essentially wrapped stake tokens that allow you to earn from just be holding them, right? Which is fundamentally different from WBTC, which doesn't give you any yield, right? So for us, the reason why we're calling them ST tokens, like ST-FIRO, ST-ETH, ST-ZEM, for example, all these different tokens, just by holding them, you can go into Uniswap, you can buy them. Just by holding them, every single day you're going to be receiving yield, right? So then you can do things that you can't do kind of with normal tokens. Like, for example, you can provide liquidity and earn at the same time from the staking and from the enabling a market, all the trading fees on that market, which I feel is like one of the biggest innovations of the last year. I mean, I would say it's the biggest innovation of last year, right? Which is understanding how powerful automated market makers can be, how democratizing automated market makers can be, right?
Right.
It is ridiculous. Like, you just don't go into uniswap.info, you look into the top 20 pools, right? Do you know what is the average yield on the top 20 pools? No
No.
one's
Is it
talking
like,
about this.
yeah,
What would you say that it is?
I don't know. I think you told me it was like 20-30%, was it? I can't remember.
It's
All right.
17.5%.
70.5%.
17.5%. But like, that's the thing, nobody's talking about this. We're talking like, if you can be earning at the same time. So imagine that you go into Uniswap and you buy, $1,000 worth of ST-FIDO, you buy $1,000 worth of ST-ETH, and then you provide liquidity for those ones. You're going to be earning the rewards from the staking of the ST-ETH. You're going to be earning the rewards from the staking of the ST-FIDO, and then on top of this, you're going to be eating those trading fees, right?
Right.
Which in average is 17.5%. Now, why does it matter? Because it really depends on, do people understand that they can go into Uniswap and they can buy a representation of a staked FIRO on Uniswap? I would argue that that's not the case yet, right?
Yeah.
The same way that most of the people, I personally in 2017, I was very, very hesitant to use any type of stablecoin,
Right.
right? Backed stablecoin in these cases, right?
Yeah.
Like, it just takes a while for people to understand this. And obviously, it takes a commitment from, you want it to happen. Like, the difference here is that we can't be building this just for ourselves. Like, in this case, we're trying to build the bridge so that the FIDO community has access to DeFi, right?
Yeah.
And this we can't do alone. We need the kind of, the FIDO community to be able to get there.
Right. So I mean, like, I guess when the original, like what we are saying is that, well, yes, we get about 8-9% yield with ST FIRO. I mean, like, well, master nodes alone, right? Like I say, if I have 1,000 FIRO, I host a master node, I get 9%, right? But what you're
Mhm.
saying is that, well, because we can have you can participate in the DeFi space, right? And then you can go on Uniswap and provide liquidity by putting in your stake FIRO, your Ethereum and whatnot together. And now you're earning on top of your 9%. Or 8-9%, you are getting additional UMI, which may be up to like 15% on the top pools right now. I think right now it's about an additional 5 or 6%, if I'm not mistaken, with the current
Yeah, yeah.
right. So it's kind of
It,
like 8 plus 5,
There's a lot.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, just today, like if you look into what we made, like kind of the ones that are providing liquidity to
Hmm.
STFIRO versus
Yeah.
ETH, that's
Yeah.
already like a 5 or 6% on top of the staking reward,
Right. So
right?
obviously, I mean, like, many people also, well, okay, obviously, like, what's in it for Stakehound, right? There are certain fees that are involved, that
For sure.
Stakehound takes. But obviously, you're hoping that, the yield generated from Uniswap and all these other things, and also with the compounding effect. Maybe you want to talk a bit more about that? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, I mean, there's quite a few things to consider here, right? We're we're operating a business that needs to be compliant, right? That has a cost. We're operating a business that you want to have the assets be completely secure, right? That has a cost, right? You need to be staking the tokens anyway, so that has a cost. Like actually, it has a cost for anybody, like because right now you know how much one Znode is making, and are you going to be calling them Znode from now on? That's it's a question.
I'll just call them master nodes for now.
The master nodes. So
Yeah.
you know how much yield one master node is giving you, and at the same time we need to be operating them. That obviously has a cost, right?
Hmm.
So if you're staking yourself, you will for sure be paying the master node cost, like the running the node cost anyway, right? That doesn't even like for sure we need to take that. We need to take into consideration the custody, the compliance as well as in our own operations, right?
Hmm.
But we essentially use a very simple formula, which is all of these things have to be paid, and we essentially keep a 7% of the rewards, right? So we only charge from the rewards. We don't charge from any of the assets under management. No trading, no fees coming in or out of the system. It's just from the rewards. You can do the numbers yourself. You'll see that it is a model that is essentially sustainable, and it allows us to building as many bridges like this as possible, which is the ultimate goal, right? Like you're not here because you want to be earning staking rewards without any type of effort, which actually works. Like for me, it's just much simpler to go into Uniswap and buy some STFIRO than actually setting up an account in many different staking providers. But I know that still I'm going to make less potentially than I can do it myself, right? As you said, like there's the compounding effect as well. Like we are right now creating one new master node every 2 weeks,
Yeah.
right? That has a compounding effect. It takes time to do that compounding effect, obviously, but it's just like it's gonna go bigger and bigger. And this is especially interesting for those that don't have right now a master node, that don't have 5 of them, right?
Yeah.
Which is already very costly. Most of the people can't participate in the system because, well, really, most of the people have $3,000 as in total crypto holdings. That's
Hmm.
most of them, meaning like 90% of the people, right?
Yeah.
What we're trying to do here is we're trying to democratize that as well. We're allowing anyone to just, you have, whatever, maybe $50 is not enough because essentially like Uniswap fees, the
Hmm.
trading and the transaction fees are too expensive. But if you have a few hundreds of dollars, then it's better for you to go into Uniswap and buy STFIRO than to send it to Binance, one transaction fee, then take it out, another transaction fee, then stake it, plus play the
Yeah.
notes. Just so much more complex, right?
Correct.
So yeah, we believe that one, this is like our focus is to enable DeFi rather than just simple staking. For simple staking, there's a lot of different providers that are doing this. I think like Binance does this. I think like
Yeah.
with a zero fee, sure, like they can do that. Why? Because they know that they're going to be eating, like they're going to be kind of earning from the trading fees rather than the staking fees.
It's not.
That's fair
It's
enough.
not. It's not zero fee. I think they do give you a lesser percentage than what they earn,
Hmm,
but I think, well, maybe it's at break even because of all the hosting costs, but they do take something. Yeah.
I
But
see.
okay, I think that ties in very well with the first question that Dev Warrior actually posted, he was like, I know you answered this again, but it's just easier to just
No
answer the
worries.
question directly. And it's like, how much can I make with stakeFIRO, and how do I do it? And yeah, and then I guess then there's another question: how does a user get paid if holding stakeFIRO? I think these are like related questions, so maybe we can start with those first. Yeah.
Absolutely. So the way that the payment kind of works is like this. The STFIRO is an ERC20, but it's a specific type of ERC20. It's what's called a rebasing coin, right? A rebasing coin is essentially, just to keep it like super simple, when you're holding one STFIRO, you're not just holding one STFIRO as in the number of one. What you're holding is a small percentage of the total supply of STFIRO in existence, right? So you're trading around not really the units of STFIRO, you're trading around the percentages of STFIRO. And the reason why we do this is because with this, we can easily be distributing rewards across all holders in a single transaction every single day. Right? So it is not that one STFIDO that in the future earns value because like we know that you can come with one and they're going to be able to exchange it for more. No, every single day you're going to see more STFIDO on your wallet, right?
Right.
So that
It might
obviously
be a very
opens a lot of
small
different
amount,
things.
like might be a very
Yes.
small amount, but it will slowly increase and kind of approximate to about like 8% ish yield per annum, right? Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, there's the thing. Like we use, like I don't know. I've been in DeFi for a while, and I've seen 10,000% APYs. Like this type of thing. And like the reality is that's not sustainable, right? What we're trying to do here is, if we take all the things that we've learned from DeFi, right? Can we do something that is sustainable and adds continuous growth and continuous value to the people that are participating in the system, right? And like you'll see that all the different initiatives that we're going to be like launching in the next few months are going to be all around this, like things that you have seen in DeFi that you can kind of get the essence from and you can use to make something better. For example, the core of our system is that there has to be sufficient liquidity in Uniswap. Right now, the Uniswap pool has like $350,000, which is not bad at all. But at the same time, it's not awesome, right? Like it's not it's not big enough. Let's put it like this: it's not big enough that someone can come in with $10,000 and trade without a big slippage, right? That is the goal here. It's like if you want people to be using this bridge, there has to be sufficient liquidity on the Uniswap pool so that anyone that comes with $10,000 can come in and move and like trade in and out without with a less than 1% slippage. Let's say it like this, right?
Right.
And right now that's not yet the case, right? It will, I believe, be the case in the future. That's what we're going to be working with on like for, but it's still not the case. Really, the way it works is in terms of like how much you're getting. The formula is very simple, and the problem here is obviously it changes every day, and it changes every day because the price of FIDO changes every single day, right? So, for example, we are paying for the node running, right? The node running costs $10 a month per node. That's something we really can't play with. Like we need to have certain things that are necessary to have, for example, the all nodes advanced plan, and we have to be doing that. For example, if you're using the basic plan, then you have a lot of different nodes batched together, which means that a DDoS attack can just like, well, if that node crashes, all the different nodes would be offline. We can't afford that, but would be, in our opinion, more painful for the rewards than actually not doing that, right? It's just a single failure point. You need an API. We need a lot of different things that plan offers that we need to be we need to be getting to the advanced plan, right? We're custodying the assets right now on Copper, right? So right now, anyone that wants to custody their FIRO, they can just go into Copper, open an account there, and they have a custodian, UK-based, regulated, that can just take charge of that, can just make sure that you don't lose them, right? That's something that we have kind of provided for FIRO. We believe that this was a necessary thing. We've convinced them to do it, and now you have a custodian. That's a win there, right? And then the last one is compliance. We are working in a world, like you're a lawyer, Ruben, like you understand that we're not going to go from where we are right now to less compliance. We're going to go to where we are to more compliance, right? And if that's the case, we can already assume that we will go to a world where everything has to be extremely compliant, right? And like they know who the creators of REN is. They understand that. if you have that REM BTCs trading, allowing for money laundering and financing terrorism for, say, tens of billions of dollars in a few years from now, do you think that the regulators would just say, oh, this is fine because it's decentralized?
Yeah, no.
Not really, right? So,
But let's just go back to the original question, which I think Dev Warrior was asking was like, how much can I make with STFIRO, which I guess is just alone would be about 8% per annum, right? And then after that, if you place it on Uniswap, I mean that's the current way that you can do it. You place it on Uniswap, and you can right now earn about 5% additional on top of that, right? And then I think that's the simple answer to the question. But of course, it depends on how much people use the Uniswap pool. And what you were getting at is that you think that more people would use the Uniswap pool if there was more liquidity involved. And right now we're about like 400K US dollars. But right now, even as it is, it's already 5%. So it's like 8% plus 5% as well. But of course, you have to worry about impermanent loss. So here's how do I do it? I guess, just place it on Uniswap, add liquidity. I think there are several guides that we posted before. We can probably link that to him later. And I guess he's also asking, well, what are the risks of using STFIRO, right? I mean, obviously there's some risk as compared to just hosting your own masternode and basically or like doing this without or not using STFIRO. And I guess this is a quick question that you can probably answer. Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, is not your keys, not your tokens. That is a fact, right? At the same time, those tokens are fully like owned by you. The STFIR are completely owned by you, right? Which means that, for example, you can create insurance products around that. As a matter of fact, we have a partnership with Nexus Mutual that will allow you to insure your ST tokens for a price drop of more than like essentially like if it's 90 cents on the dollar of what it should be, then you can actually get an option to jump to this.
Is that already available to do that?
It's not like they're working on launching this. I think that it's going to be done maybe I think early next month or something like this. But these are already a partnership that has been agreed. We did this podcast last week, I think, yeah, with Hugh Carp. No, sorry, 2 weeks ago with Hugh Carp, kind of where he explained this model, like how it's going to be working. But essentially, you're going to have that, you're going to have to, if you're holding STFIRO, for example, or even if you're providing liquidity to it, you can be kind of hedged against the price dropping or any other risk. Like any risk can be mitigated by that, right? But ultimately, we have that. We are using an institutional grade custodian system provider, right? Which is Copper, right? We, in some cases, use another custodian called Fireblocks, which holds $160 billion of assets under management, right? Those are two really, really good custody providers. Then, like,
so Firo is being held by
by
Fireblocks
Copper.
or by Copper?
Right now by Copper. So the way that it works is the issuance of the tokens, the dealing with the STFIRO is happening on Fireblocks, and the like
on Fireblocks?
the assets. Okay. Yeah, sorry, on Fireblocks. You're right. Yes, on Fireblocks, and then the FIRO right now is being held on Copper. Right. Right. We're talking as well with them and so on, but like it takes a lot of effort for a custodian to update all those systems to enable a new token. So that's something that just takes time.
Sure.
Yeah. So you were talking about like the security, right? So
yeah. This was also another question by Toga from YouTube. He says like, has Stakehound ever been audited? I guess you can answer that question as well. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. So the smart contract is actually pretty simple. Like there's like this layer which is the proxy, which is just like allows us to do upgradability and stuff, and then there's the actual smart contract, which is the rebasing smart contract, right? And that one has about 400 lines of code, right? And the whole system, both of them, got audited, but like a couple months ago by QuantStamp, which is a leading audit firm as well. Yep. So yeah, that's like we've been audited. It is not a complex system. All we're doing is just we're using the same model as Ample Fortias, which is what I said before about the rebasing tokens, and just like make sure that we can with a single transaction be rebasing everyone at the same time, right? So there's this delta, maximum delta that it kind of it's expecting every day, and we just say, hey, there has been this distribution, which means like increase the supply by this much to everybody. And this happens whenever there's like once a day, whenever there's a reward.
Right. Okay, so there's been audited by Quantstamp. Obviously there are some risks because, well, basically you're trusting the custodian. That as you not your keys, not your coins. So I guess there's that risk that, well, if the custodian goes kaput, I guess also if Stakehound goes insolvent, I guess that is a risk, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Ish.
of course, it is a risk. Like, it just
Yeah.
depends at that point, like how you do the unwrapping, in an
Right.
orderly fashion, right? But as I said, like to me, it is closer to kind of an exchange, right? Like, so an exchange is just you have the door of the exchange, then you put funds in, right? There's
Hmm.
multiple risks that can make this door close. One of them is regulation. We want to make sure that that's not the one that kills us for sure. And then once it's in the system, you just have the exchange to work with, right? In our side, we're just the door. We're just the door to the exchange, and on the other side you have DeFi and whatever things, right? So as long as you're dealing with your tokens properly in DeFi, so that they don't get lost and so on there, which obviously is a risk for some people that are not used to it, right? That is one thing. But all we're trying to do here is just to maintain the door open, and just like we're being very transparent about this. We want to,
Hmm.
like, what are the things that can be killing the business? In this case, would be one regulation. Let's just make sure that that is completely fine. That's what we have to do on people that are onboarding funds to
Sure.
complete KYC and AML, right?
Yeah.
We don't hesitate on that. It's like, it's very painful. Like, we've had this conversation multiple times. It is
Yes.
very painful. It is a necessary thing in the world that's coming. So yeah. But in terms of
Yeah.
risks, yeah, those are the
So,
main ones.
so Tolfred actually asked a related question with regulatory pressure mounting on privacy coins. Has Stakehound considered possibility that their custody provider Copper will stop holding FIRO as an unreasonable reaction to this pressure? How do you have a plan for that if that happens? Plan B for custody. Yeah.
So the thing here is that we have already discussed this, and there is no like the reason why privacy coins can be something like that is a kind of a hesitation for some of these exchanges is because exchanges don't normally actually do AML. So exchanges normally you send a Bitcoin to an exchange. Normally
Hmm.
they just go into something like chain analysis, or they just go into elliptic, for example, and they look, is it red, green, or orange, right?
Yeah.
And they just they decide whether they want to take that risk or not. The problem with the privacy coins is that they can't this
Right.
information, right? It's opaque to them, right? In
Hmm.
our case, we don't take that risk. Like, if
Right.
you're bringing in whatever asset, it doesn't matter. You're gonna have to explain what the origin of funds is, right?
Correct.
This is
Yes.
not normally the way that most of the people are going to be interacting with the system. Most of the people are just going to Uniswap and buy STFIDO there, right?
Right.
But people that want to make money from kind of arbitraging, for example, right? So you can make a lot of money by arbitraging. And, like, at the moment that the price of the ST is higher than the FIRO one, you can just go ahead and you can buy FIRO to then like wrap it up and sell it on Uniswap, right? Bringing it back to kind of parity. Now, that is something that, for those that want to make money kind of arbitraging, they will have to do KYC and AML. And right now, you can already, for example, on Copper, right? You just go into Copper, you set up an account, and you will have the minting process just be one click away. You just go into like, you just send some FIDO,
Hmm.
then you kind of trade directly from FIDO to ST directly from their interface, right?
Right.
Which means that all these arbitrage is actually very easy, but, like, for most of the people, like, yeah, will just be like, they will require KYC and ML. Most of the people will just go through
Yeah,
Uniswap.
I mean, personally, I don't think there's much of. I mean, yes, it's a privacy coin, but the thing is that all their risks is actually all mitigated because for anyone to onboard FIRO onto Stakehound, they have to do KYC and very stringent AML KYC. I've gone through it, and it was like really stringent. But the thing is that for most people, once it's already in its token format, then it's traded on Uniswap. You don't have to have KYC to acquire SD FIRO only if you want to convert and in and out through the Stakehound platform. But even then, this is also something that we discussed. We're having some swap services that do support Stake FIRO soon, and what that means that, well, if you want to convert like smaller amounts from Stake FIRO to FIRO, you don't even need the KYC because you can just do a swap, and they'll take it from Uniswap, take it from Binance, and just like give you a fee, maybe with like not as much because there will be fees in between, but it will be quite an easy way to convert between Stake FIRO and FIRO, right? And
Yeah.
so I guess the next question is, let me see. Right. see. All right. So Stakehound platform. How secure is it? How do you act in a hacking situation? The Stakehound has a user protection fund. Do you have a plan to reimburse your customers against any hacking issue? I think this is more of like a misunderstanding of because the contract actually is very simple, right? Like it's
Yes.
just basically take the coin, I represent it, and then bam, I issue a new token, and then there's that rebasing function, right? But obviously, maybe it's best to hear it from you, right?
Yeah. So as I said, we use two different systems. We use two different systems to deal with the tokens, right? We are right now for the FIRO case, we're holding the FIRO on a custodian in UK, regulated, insured, that's called copper. And we're issuing the tokens, minting and so on and so forth, right, on Fireblocks, right? So the combination of those two would just make the system extremely reliant because, those are two isolated systems, highly secure. They're all holding billions of dollars worth of assets, right? They are insured. Like actually on the FIDO side of things, on the Fireblocks side of things, it's insured as well, right? So like we're just trying to put as many layers of security as possible, of insurance as possible. Then like we're exploring to use I guess that it's a yes already. So we're going to be using a system called coin cover, for example, which is a way to as well secure further your keys, for example. So it is all based on MPCs, all based on like multi-party computation. Like no one actually has the key. There's like so many different layers of prevention for anything to happen, right?
Could you explain a little bit what Fireblocks is?
Fireblocks is essentially it's not a custodian; it's a custody technology, right? So you have a custodian platform rather than a custodian. So normally a custodian is someone that can be holding your assets on your behalf. They can be securing them. They have to make sure that is what copper is, right? While Fireblocks is more the technology that other custodians, other exchanges, other OTC desks are using to secure their funds,
All right.
So it's more like you have different, it is a completely different kind of dimension, right? Which is what is the technology that you need to really be holding production, let's say enterprise level tokens, right? You need to be able to mint and rebase and do all these different things and burn and transfer here and there. You need to be able to go to an exchange and exchange the tokens directly. You need to go and like connect to other exchanges, for example, that want to be minting a token, right? You need to have things like, when you go to Copper and you want to buy some stakeFIRO directly from Copper, then you want the flow to be, like FIRO gets sent to us, then we are ordered to issue some stakeFIRO accordingly to that, and distribute it to the user. All these flows, you need to have a very, very, very secure and autonomous kind of infrastructure. And this is the best way we can think of to actually make it happen.
Cool. Okay. Well, I guess do you have anything to share? I mean, I guess we're not expecting names, but like do you have any plans? Because I remember you have the Hound token, and then you have all this liquidity mining that's happening. Maybe you want to like share a bit about like what is all this Hound token and how does it apply to stakeFIRO particularly, right? Yeah.
So for those who've been following DeFi, right, this trend of yield farming, it's something that has been taking a lot of attention, right? At the beginning, it started with yams and with sushi and with different kind of food coins. And those food coins are just like examples, little games that allow people to be incentivized to provide liquidity, right?
Right.
That has been proven to be extremely successful, to the point that most of these, they had much more liquidity than they actually needed, right, for the value that they were creating, right, for the demand that there would be for them. So we've been looking. Well, we looked a lot into this. We participated in a lot of them, and we understood that the thing is that there is actual value in doing this, but it's not done properly because it's not sustainable, right? So, for example, when you break that down a little bit, you'll see that there's two types of users, right? In DeFi, there's two types of users. One type of user, for example, for stakeFIRO is the person that just goes and says, do I want to be going into Binance, downloading the FIRO wallet, downloading it there, setting up the node, and so on and so forth? Or do I just want to go into Uniswap and buy some stakeFIRO and just hold it, nothing else than that, right? That is a user of the system, okay? And then there's the enablers of the system, which are the guys that are saying, hey, I would like the first guy to be able to go into Aave, for example, and get a loan against the stakeFIRO's collateral, for example, right? And if I want that to happen, like Aave will need there to be sufficient liquidity on Uniswap. Actually, like the first guy, just to be able to buy the tokens, it requires to have some sufficient liquidity on Uniswap. And as you said before, there is some impermanent loss there, right? Well, there is impermanent loss in that system, right? So what we've seen is that there's users of the system and there's enablers of the system, right? And the enablers of the systems are essentially the guys that are providing liquidity in Uniswap. So what's going to happen is that in the next few weeks, as a matter of fact, like I'm already like seeing demo, like we're already like testing it, but in the next few weeks, you're going to see how we're going to be launching a liquidity mining schema where 5% of the rewards of the users will go into the enablers. Right? So if you provide liquidity to Uniswap, you're going to get a bigger yield than if you actually just hold, right? You're going to be providing a bigger yield just for the portion of the pool. That doesn't even add to here the trading fees, for example, which is what we were discussing before, right? But essentially, this means that you will already be making more from the stakeFIRO than actually staking yourself if you're providing liquidity to it. Right? So if you're not providing liquidity to it, you're going to be earning less than doing it yourself. But if you're doing it, but if you're providing liquidity through stakeFIRO, you will be making more than if you're actually running the masternode yourself. Right? This is a very big flip because this means that now, like, if you have sufficient capital, it makes a lot of sense for you to be able to do that, right? On top, the trading fees, which, as we said before, 17.5% of the top 20 pools, right? So that, however, like any network, right? Like networks become useful when there's sufficient mass, right? And this critical mass is where you have to go. And one good way that we've discovered here in crypto is that you have tokens that can be incentivizing users to create the network effects to get to the critical mass. Like right now, few people are talking about Stakehound. Why? Is there any way to invest in it? Not really. So people don't talk about it, right? The moment that you have a token, the critical mass, like the dynamics change because you don't need that critical mass. You have the financial utility more even than the actual utility of the protocol, of the network, right? And this eventually turns around and you have the financial utility is less interesting than actually the utility that it's actually providing to the system. Not even Bitcoin has gotten there yet, right? So it'll take a while. But having the Hound token allows us to create, to jump, quite a bit farther and create some other type of utility for the users and start to create this kind of community that really understands what the stakeFIRO will be, what the SDE will be, that evangelize this and explain to people, hey guys, why are you not just like doing this? Because it makes a lot of sense, right? And it allows us to ensure as well that the ones that are providing liquidity to Uniswap or to Balancer, for example, are going to be rewarded, as well as the people that have onboarded assets, right? I think we're going to be changing a bit the rules of what's called the hunt, which is like if you're bringing assets before we issue the token, then we're going to be probably changing on that. The reality is like what makes more sense is that when we distribute the token, that's going to be around March or something like that. Then when we distribute the token, it's going to go accordingly to essentially who has brought how many assets, and then with a small multiplier, the bonus, depending on if you've been participating in multiple hands and so on, which some people are trying like to participate in, right? But essentially, ultimately, kind of wrapping up, the Hound token is a governance token that will be allowing users to decide where the liquidity coming from the rewards of the actual staking, the rewards of the users in this case, how they should be distributed among the enablers. Right. And then ultimately people can just provide liquidity to the Hound, and people can just reward people that are providing liquidity to the Hound, which is something that is beneficial as well for all the participants of this network. Right.
And then they also get a share of the profits, right, by holding the Hound token. Is
well, that's the thing. Like it doesn't like yeah, it is not a per se a share of the profits, as
Mm-hmm.
you know. This would bring us into regulatory
Yes, right.
matters,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
This is not a share of the profits. What it is Stakehound will spend essentially 5% of the rewards to incentivize people that are providing liquidity. To
Mm-hmm.
what? The community will decide. The liquidity DAO will decide where this, cash is going to be going, which are the pools that we think that are more important to make liquid. And that's why the Hound token is important. That's a governance token that allows us to say, okay, we want the liquidity DAO, that's the name of the DAO that's going to be governing this. We want the liquidity DAO to be deciding which ones are the pairs that should be getting more liquidity, more incentivization for the liquidity, right? If they want to do it against the Hound token, that's great. If they want to do it against STE, that's great. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool. I think that sounds great. So and when are you planning to launch this Hound token?
So the Hound token, I think it will be around March. The reality is that there's we need to do a Series A before then. So I guess like after we finish the Series A, then we're going to be distributing the token. The liquidity mining schema, like the 5% coming from the users into the enablers, that will start soon. That will start in the next few weeks. Now, with end of year and so on, I would expect that worst case scenario, middle of January, but I don't think it's going to be farther than that.
Sure. So okay, I think there was just some good questions. Okay, how do we invest in stakeFIRO? Do we have a locking period in staking or minimum requirement to be eligible? Will it affect APY?
Mhm.
And I think that's decent questions.
Yeah.
I guess maybe you want to like answer
Yeah, for
that
sure.
succinctly. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. So essentially, well, how to invest in this case is like you're just trading it essentially from FIDO to STFIDO and from STFIDO to FIDO 1-to-1. You can just go into Uniswap and you can buy them there. That's I
Mhm.
think the easiest way if you don't want to do the KYC and AML, right? Then the other one, sorry, you asked. Um,
Do
the
we have a
second one was
lock-in period in
right.
staking or a
And
minimum
minimum.
requirement? Yeah.
Exactly. So there's no lock-in period. There is the problem as well is that because KYC and AML has a cost per user per user number, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then if you're trying to go through the KYC and AML route, there is a minimum of $1,000, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
that needs to be fulfilled. Essentially, because there is a cost of doing that. If it was, if you're trying to onboard $5, then you will be you will be bringing less than the cost of the actual KYC and AML, right?
Right.
That's the reason for it. But if you want to be trading $100, you can go to Uniswap and just buy some STFIRO there. Nothing
So I
else.
guess in short, it's like two ways, right? If you just want to get stakeFIRO, you don't have enough or a masternode, you just don't want to go through AML KYC. The easiest way is to just go to Uniswap at st.firo.org. You go there, it'll lead you to Uniswap. You deposit F or whatever, and it'll convert it to stakeFIRO, and you will start
Mhm.
earning rewards on your STFIRO, right? And you can
Yeah.
buy, sell at it at any time. There's no lock in, and I think that's one of the beauties where we are unlocking the liquidity of masternodes, which were just previously just sitting passive. And now they can actually be traded in fractional amounts. That's something really
Yes.
powerful for us. And for the minimum requirement, of course, if you want to put in your own Firo and convert them to STFIRO, the minimum amount is 1,000 US dollars. But if you just want to buy STFIRO direct from Uniswap, there's no minimum amount. I guess the minimum amount that makes sense with the Uniswap trading fee and Ethereum gas fees. I think that would be the minimum per se, right? And
Yes.
I guess his other questions will it affect APY? I mean, yes, there are certain deductions that Stakehound makes for the hosting fee and for the service that you guys provide, but it's also offset by the compounding effect. And I guess the compounding effect is I mean, for those who may not understand, it's like if I have one, let's say, master node, right, I'm going to get like, okay, let's say like 15 Firo a month or something like that, right? Or something.
Mhm.
And I cannot make a new master node with that 15
120
Firo.
months.
Yeah, it'll take like several years to get it, right? But obviously, if I have like 20, 30, 100 master nodes, the rewards will be enough for me to create new master nodes, so that your interest can be compounded. And because Stakehound does have enough, how many master nodes do you have under
And
your
now
custody?
there's 257.
All right, so 257, which is still is what? How many percent out of 5,000?
About 5%,
Five
right?
5%. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a healthy amount, and
Mhm.
therefore, like you have that compounding effect. You don't control too much of the network, and I think I think it's great for people who may not just don't want to like bother with the masternode hosting and all the technical requirements.
Right.
I mean, you guys have like an awesome partner with all nodes that just keeps it up all the time, and again, like you don't have to have 1,000, right? Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
So,
that's correct.
Phillips asked, do they have any paperwork? Maybe you just want to quickly discuss about what the paperwork that's involved. But the paperwork is only if you're converting FIRO to STFIRO or STFIRO to FIRO. But you can always do it on Uniswap, as in like you want to buy or you want to later when Change Now integrates us, you can just do a swap feature. But maybe you want to talk a little bit about the paperwork
Mhm.
and like the different tiers of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So as you were saying, right, like this only really applies to people that are going directly to us to do that, right? Like most of the people, like when you're trading WBTC, you just do it on Uniswap. You don't really go into WBTC network and just like do it there. There's
Yeah.
other people who are doing the arbitrage there. It's just that you don't have to do that. If
Mhm.
someone is interested in that, then obviously there's different tiers. It's just the standard kind of AML tiers that you have, for example, for any Swiss company in this case, where it's where
Mhm.
we were regulated, and that essentially means that if you're trying to onboard more than $15,000, there's a bit more requirements. They're going to have to understand, okay, where did you actually get those funds? How do you, like, essentially you have to demonstrate where those funds are coming from the beginning and from the end. So if someone is going through the process, for example, because it is painful, right? It is
Yes.
painful for sure. But the reality is that it doesn't have to be so much. You just need to understand what they want. And what they want is they want to understand, one, where did your initial funds really, really, really come from? Okay, I bought my first Bitcoin in 2013.
Mhm.
Here's the proof. I do have the proof because I've shared this with a lot of different KYC and AML providers, right?
Mhm.
And it's just like a screenshot from the local bitcoins, right? And then I had another one, which is another trade that I did like on 2013, 14, and I just shared that. And then the second one is, okay, now this feeder that you're sending over, show us how you bought it. And you say, okay, I actually bought it from Binance, for example, right? So okay,
Mhm.
then okay, extract the withdrawal CSV and send it to us. And that's what Altcoinomy, which is a regulated financial intermediary in Switzerland, right?
Mhm.
That's what they do. Their job is just to make sure that the funds that get into the system, the water that gets into the pool, is not dirty, right? And this is very good and very important for us because in the future we can, I mean, we're just at the beginning of all this, right? Like we're going to
Mhm.
go into trillions of dollars of inside of the crypto ecosystem, and institutions will be requiring and will only be able to play with partners that have clean water on their pool, right? So if we want to get there, that's the only way that we can do it. We need to be completely strict on this.
Right. All right, that makes sense. So, okay, I guess where I mean, like, I guess where do you want to wrap up and like say where can you find out about more about Stakehound, STFIRO? I think there's a handy frequently asked question. You guys have a Telegram channel. You want to share that? Go ahead. That
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. Let's chill. No, I mean, for me, what I would really like for people, like to incentivize people to do would be, I would like people to join the Telegram group that's at Stakehound. I would like you guys to express like your experiences. Have you been using the STFIRO? Have you been trying to provide liquidity? Have you had any problems, right? Is there something that do you think that we can do better, right? Like, for example, some people have been complaining about KYC and AML. We've been working really hard to do that, right? So change now it's going to be a very good improvement. We've got Copper that where much simpler KYC and AML. You can actually do that. We've got a
Mhm.
couple news as well. We're gonna a couple partnerships that are coming up as well. That are going to be like really steering things up as well. Kind of allowing other type of users to participate and to be incentivized to buy the tokens, as well as stuff around like lending and borrowing as well. That's going to be very, very interesting, right? But essentially, we need to create a bit more conversation on the topic. We need to make sure that people understand what this is, right? Like that you can just go and buy FIRO on Uniswap, right?
Yeah.
It is the same as an exchange. You don't think that the the FIRO that you're buying on Binance is actually just like a paper FIRO, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most of the people think associate that as the same thing, right? The difference here is that you are getting yield while you're buying FIRO on Binance. You're not getting yield from that. Here you're getting it, and you can still participate on DeFi. So yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. Just yeah, I would like to see more conversation on the topic. Any questions that you have, any feedback, we're always ears, and we're always trying to be as transparent and as available as possible to anyone that.
Right now, I think it's like people don't understand. There's actually an right now an arbitrage opportunity, right? Like stakeFIRO on Uniswap is at $4.03, and FIRO on the centralized exchange is $3.63, and that's actually quite a big
It's quite big.
arbitrage. So those people who actually know what's happening could actually buy the cheap FIRO and then convert them to ST FIRO and then sell them on Uniswap for a quick profit, right? Then
Mhm.
the fact that we aren't seeing this actually shows that people don't understand, because this is just really just money waiting to be made, right? I guess, like, for people who are hard enough or want to work hard enough to do this, is really an opportunity. I think, especially as soon as the change now integration comes, and also from my end, we're trying to push with Ren to get like a Ren FIRO, which would be like a trustless bridge where you can convert from a ERC20 token into like a but no staking abilities. That means you won't get the masternode rewards.
Mhm.
But once we have that, that means we can easily bridge from an Ethereum token for even ST FIRO to Ren FIRO and then back into like native FIRO. And I think that's
Yes.
really powerful to kind of enable all of this. So I'm really excited to see what's coming. I think we're working on a couple of integrations. Hopefully, this will spur more interest, and as we get more users using ST FIRO, we can get on more platforms, and we're really excited about that. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, you guys have been doing an amazing job to be kind of connected and to make sure that the FIRO community is tapped into the DeFi space, right?
Right.
Yes, people still don't totally understand what this
Yeah.
means, and it's untested, right? So yes, like first soldier coming out from the boat in Normandy, but the reality here is that DeFi is not going to go away anytime soon,
Yep.
right? So you want to be tapped into that. There will be others that will follow, and that will make the critical mass so that people understand what liquid staking is, right? Like right now, people are not really talking about liquid staking yet. They will when a stake teeth, for example, comes out. They will when all these different tokens that are like very big market caps start coming out, and people start to understand and get educated with that. It's just time. We just like it's just been a couple months now, so I'm very
Right.
positive.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Hopefully, people see the value of this. I mean, now I think the market cap of Stake FIRO is like 1 million something at the
Yes,
moment, and
completely.
that's just, that means we have around $1 million US locked in this system, and I think this is just going to increase, especially if FIRO price increases, and yeah, I mean, hopefully that's the case, right? But I think the main takeaway is that, I mean, for me, I mean, personally, there were like two things, right? We wanted to participate in the DeFi ecosystem where the DeFi was happening on Ethereum, rather than just trying to build it on Zcoin, which or FIRO, which was not meant to do it, and it's just, it doesn't quite make sense, right? To do this, and I guess the other thing was, there was this really, there was a continuing complaint that there were too much like FIRO locked in masternodes, and as a result that made it illiquid. And I guess this kind of solves it, right? You can have masternodes and it can be liquid, and now you don't have to be rich. You can own like one ST FIRO. I think everyone should be able to afford like $4, $4 US to get one ST FIRO. There's no minimum amount, so it kind of democratizes in that sense, right? Now you can participate and have a fractional master node without having to have a lot of money. So I'm really hope that even just from that element alone, even without the DeFi stuff, this is actually real benefit to FIRO. And you guys helped us, like, get an institutional grade custodian. We got Fireblocks integration. We got copper integration. We have economy integration, and that really helps with adoption. Especially, we believe that institutions are coming, the cryptocurrency, you have to have that sort of infrastructure, and that normally costs a lot of money. So we're really
Yeah.
happy that to get integrated with you guys. Yeah.
Like there's something I think interesting to see, right? Like for example, Fireblocks is a technology that's being used by the biggest trading desks and exchanges and prime drives, for example, right? All these guys, like right now, they can hold STFIRO. They can't hold FIRO unless they run the nodes, but they can hold STFIRO because it's an ERC20 token that is already in Fireblocks, right? So
Yeah.
this opens a world of opportunities. We're just starting to cross those doors, but like that is already the case. Like if you're a user at Fireblocks, you already can hold STFIDO on Fireblocks, right?
Mhm.
It's just like it is something that we still haven't like seen that much, but like
Mhm.
it just makes a lot of sense. Like most of the people don't want to be dealing with the nodes and different type of keys and
Yep.
different type of setups from every single layer one protocol, right? Here's a way that you can just do that in a single shot. So yeah, very, very
All
excited about
right.
this.
So I guess we have reached the end of this Almond session. I guess if people want more, we can definitely have more. And I mean, I guess the last thing that I would say was a funny question that I saw on YouTube. Just on a light note is like, hello, I don't care about the token, but my question is, are you guys single? You can refuse to answer that. I'm
I'm
married.
not. I'm married as well. Yes.
Okay, all right. Thanks so much, Albert, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you. And hopefully, we shed some lights to what ST Firo is, Stake Firo, and we hopefully get to see more